Hey guys, and welcome back to Crime Cafe. I'm so happy to have you here. Today we're going to be doing a sit-down video just because I haven't done one in a while and I feel like I could get it done. So I'm going to be talking about an unsolved case that I found on Netflix actually. I haven't heard about it before and it intrigued me, and I find it extremely sad, and it just struck something in me, and I want to share it with you all. So this case takes place back in April 15th, 2004 in Cummings, Georgia. This is about Patrice Black. I think her last name is Black. I will correct it if I'm wrong. Her son's name I know for sure is Black, and so I'm not sure if I have that right or not, but her name is Patrice, and she was described as being absolutely beautiful. She was absolutely beautiful. You can tell that she was completely full of life, and she was like a woman that when she walked into the door, like, she just made the room shine. Everyone knew her. She was the town hairdresser, and she just always had a passion for hair and making people feel beautiful. And she wanted to do that. She knew she wanted to do that since she was a little girl, and she went to school and started in different salons and working for other people, and then ultimately had her own salon that was, you know, where everyone went. People loved to just go in there and get their hair done, haircut, and hang out with her for a little while because she was just so easygoing and just amazing to talk to. Patrice's son, Pistol, at this point he was in 10th grade, and his mom and dad were divorced, but they always got along. They stayed complete best friends to benefit him and to have good co-parenting for him, and he was very thankful for that. But he lived with his mom, so it was him and his mom, and they had the greatest bond. She lived for her son, and she would wake him up in the morning by running on the treadmill. Like, he said that he would be sleeping in his room and he would just hear like the doof, 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 of the treadmill, and that is what would wake him up in the morning. So that's the type of person that she was, just very full of life and full of energy, and she just spread that to people. Patrice ultimately met a man named Rob. He was actually 20 years older than her. So she was 30 years old when they met and he was 50. And they just completely fell in love. He adored her and the light of his life. He would do anything for her, and he was very protective of her and very much like, she's mine, possessive, I guess you can say. But a lot of people said that they had what looked like a great relationship. He treated her well, and when I watched him talk about her, I literally wrote down in my notes, oh my god, he loved her so much. You could just see it on him, and just he absolutely adored her. So the morning of April 15th, 2004, Pistol was woken up by his mom on the treadmill like usual. She was full of life, and she was going to the salon that day, and he had school. They did fight a little bit on the way to school because he wanted to leave early because he had a girlfriend, and he wanted to go early enough to spend time with her before class started, and she was running behind and late, and so they got into an argument. It wasn't a big fight, but it was, you know, something that was over something small, and something that you could just look back on, something that he can look back on and probably think, you know, I shouldn't have been so upset about that. But you know, we don't know what life has in store for us. So there isn't anything that you can do. People just react instantly to their emotions in life, and for whatever reasons, whether they be selfish or not, it's okay. But he was upset with her because he wanted to be there early. I mean, he's in 10th grade and in love, you know, the young love, and he wants to see his girlfriend. So she drops him off and he goes to class like usual. So Pistol is in his biology class. Someone from the office comes and gets him out of his class, and he didn't find that odd because he was somewhat of a troublemaker. So he, you know, just figured out who knows what I'm in trouble for. And they took him back to the office, and there was an officer sitting there who asked him if he heard from his mom at all today. And Pistol said, you know, this morning I did, but so he tried calling her 3 times and she didn't answer. And usually, always, like 100% of the time, if she did not answer when he called, within a couple minutes she would call him back. Like I said before, Pistol was her life. She lived for him. It was them two against the world. And so it was really odd for her to, 1, not answer his call, and 2, not get back to him immediately. So he did think, you know, something's up because my mom always answers. So they take Pistol and they leave the school and they actually go to her salon. Now, the first thing that they notice as soon as they get to the salon is, well, the police presence around there, and he's thinking like, oh my God, this is really serious. But his mom's car is usually parked on the side of her salon. So it's like on a road, kind of like a highway type, a main road. I don't know what to call it. I call it a highway. My husband laughs at me because it's not a highway. It's just like a main busy road that her salon is sat on. And she usually parks on the side of it. So then you have the front parking for the clients. Well, this time her car was kind of pulled in front of the salon. So that was completely different and not normal at all. So that's the first thing that is noticed that's different. What had happened was a client was supposed to come and have an appointment, and when she showed up, Patrice wasn't there. Everything was normal. It looked like she was making a lunch. It was in the microwave, and the only thing that was different was her car, and the cash register was open. So, but everything else was the same. It didn't look like a struggle happened. It just looked like she walked out the door and that was that. So Patrice's husband, Rob, he got a call and of course went to the salon immediately, and the cops right away, you know, want to question him. And Rob even says in the documentary that he studied criminology, so he was aware that he was going to be questioned, and they told him, we will see you down at the station. So he knew they always look at the partner first, so he didn't find that odd or anything. He wasn't nervous, but he did go down the station. So the police are trying to figure out, maybe she just up and left. Maybe she was sick of her life. Maybe she wasn't as happy as everyone thought that she was, and she wanted to start her life somewhere else. And everyone around them said no, she would never ever leave her son. If she was to leave, go anywhere, she would always take her son. No way she would leave him. So that was out of the question. Also, she was supposed to meet a friend. One of her friends would go there all the time for like just hang out in the afternoon, and her friend was supposed to go there, but she had called and to make sure, you know, it was okay for her to show up, and there was no answer, which was again odd. So the police have all these people saying this is very strange for her to just up and disappear, not answer phone calls, all these things. So they did absolutely everything that they could they had search parties. And this is immediately. Like, they figured all this stuff out immediately. They had search parties. They had helicopters looking for her. They had dogs out looking for her, and they found absolutely nothing. They started interviewing the people that saw her that morning, and she did have a couple clients. A client that she had said that she was not very attentive. Usually she made people feel special when she did their hair. So for her to not be as attentive and just kind of in her own world was off for her, and her client said that's how she was that morning. And when the police got the phone records back, it showed that at 11:37, Patrice was on a phone call with a client that was canceling the appointment for the day. And then at 11:50, so just that 15 minutes later, that friend that was supposed to come to hang out called, and there was no answer. So they were focusing in on that time frame because it was really odd. Son mentioned that a few weeks prior to this day, he didn't think anything of it, but his mom did ask him, you know, if anything were to happen to me, where would you go? What would you do? And he just said, you know, I'd go with my dad. But he didn't ask any questions about it. He just thought maybe she was, you know how some people just start thinking about the future just in case something happens, you want to have a plan, all that kind of stuff. But he found it really odd that it was just a couple weeks prior to when she disappeared. So the police discovered that there were 2 witnesses that passed the salon when another car was parked outside around that time frame that they were looking at, within that 15-minute time frame. So a woman did see her car, Patrice's car, pulled to the side, to the front of the building, and because she noticed it, because it's not like that usually. So she did notice that, and there was what she thinks is a Chevy Lumina with Georgia plates that was parked right in the front. And she said that she saw 2 ladies, a tall lady and a short lady. And then a man witness said that he saw the cars parked that way. He said the car that he saw was a blue 99 Ford Taurus, and he thought he saw a woman and a man. So both saw cars that looked similar, just couldn't make out the person that she was with and the exact make of the car. But someone was there, and there was 2 witnesses. Remember when I said that when I saw Rob, Patrice's husband, for the first time, I wrote down in my notes, oh my God, he loves her so much. He struck me as a really sweet man. I felt so sad for him, and he kind of pulled on my heartstrings. And I usually have pretty good, I could usually read people pretty well. Well, this is where things take a turn. Pistol claims that when he was 8 or 9 is when his mom met Rob, and they started dating. Rob was fantastic. He was wonderful to his mom. He was wonderful to him. He was obviously attempting to be his stepdad. He was taking, you know, being involved in things and really stepping up, and it was great. It was about a year that they were together when everything changed. And Rob started to be cruel to Pistol. He would walk past him in the house and say really mean things to him. He would act like he didn't even exist, and really hard home life for Pistol. He made it very uncomfortable for him. Rob was very possessive of Patrice. He was jealous of her friends. He did not like when she went out with her friends, and he was jealous of her son, the relationship that they had, because her son was number 1 to her. And he didn't like that, and it was obvious. and the way that he treated Pistol. Now, in the interview, Rob says that Pistol was jealous of his relationship with his mom and that she didn't like to discipline him at all and he would get away with things, and he straight up said that he saw no future in him. Like, I saw no future in that kid. It really, his personality like switched when he started talking about Pistol and their relationship and the way that he feels about him. It was cold and cruel, and I don't understand how you can be so in love with someone and so cold to their child. So Pistol says that his mom was actually planning to divorce Rob because of how mean he was to Pistol. But Rob didn't know that this was going to happen. She didn't, show any signs or anything like that, and she kept it a secret, but she was really planning on leaving him. And of course, Rob says that can't be true. And they never fought, which even the best, most healthy couples fight. That is not healthy to not fight. So this is where you can see the complete change in Rob. It is disturbing, and he is just nasty. So the day that Patrice went missing is the last day that Pistol was in the home that he shared with Rob and his mom. He stayed at his dad's house, and he went back the next day because he needed to get a couple of his things. I mean, he lived there. Rob, this is one day. Patrice is missing for one day, and Rob has changed all of the locks, and he would be inside the house and completely ignore the knocking that Pistol was doing to get inside. This kid is in 10th grade. He is a child who just, is going through his mom missing, and his stepdad completely changes the locks on him and doesn't let him in to get anything. Doesn't even acknowledge that he's outside. And Rob says that he didn't want him in the house. He did not want that kid in the house. And for me, that's a huge red flag for me, because if your wife, if you think that she's only missing, she could have ran off, she could have, if she has the potential to come home, you're completely destroying what little relationship you have with her child. You kicked him out, you changed the locks, you won't let him touch any of his stuff, he can't have any of his mom's things. That is one day missing. That is a huge red flag for me. There's something wrong there. Pistol says that he loved living with his dad. His dad had a farm, and he would help him on the farm, but his life really took a turn after his mom went missing. His dad fell into a depression because even though they were divorced, they were best friends, and his dad was having a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that she was gone. So in a sense, Pistol lost his mom and his dad that day. The police had quite a few suspects around this case. There was a murderer who was pulled in for different cases. His name was Gary Hilton, and he is interviewed and questioned because he actually was around that area during that time, and his favorite place to rob was a salon. He thought that was like the simplest thing to hit. So, and he would usually go around lunchtime, so it fit him perfectly. He also didn't have an alibi for where he was during that time, so they really thought that they had the guy with Gary Hilton. Another suspect that they had was Jeremy Jones. He enjoyed sexually abusing women during that time. He murdered 6 to 8 women, and he actually, while in custody, admitted that he took Patrice. He said that he went inside the salon, told her that his car needed a jump, and he ultimately took her, told her that he was gonna kill her, and that he eventually threw her in the creek. They searched everywhere. They really pulled out all the stops for her in the search parties and things like that, what they used, and they couldn't find it. So they have the one guy who has no alibi, who it fits his MO. And then they have this guy who's saying that he did, but they have no proof. They have 0 proof, so they just aren't sure. Later on, Jeremy Jones did retract that statement that he murdered her and threw her in the creek. He said that he lied. The police weren't completely positive on what to believe there, because he did have some details that they didn't tell anyone, so they weren't quite sure what they believed, if he actually did do it, or that he redacted his statement and that he didn't do it. So they really had nothing to go on, and it was December 6th, 2005. It was exactly 600 days from the day Patrice went missing, that there were 2 men out in the mountains building a little part off a church that the man owned, and so they were working on it all day, and they were about to have some lunch, and they stepped outside, and he saw buzzards flying near the wooded area. So he thought, I'm gonna have my lunch, and then I'm gonna go check out what is dead down there, because obviously something is dead. So him and the other man walked down there, and he did see a deer laying there, and the other man said, yep, but what's by your foot? And when he turned, he saw a human skull. So what a coincidence there. That's that's crazy. They spent a day and a half casing that entire area where they found the skull. They wanted every bone that they could find, and they collected everything, and they did positively identify it as Patrice. And they kept her skeletal remains for a year, trying to figure everything out, and then they were released. And at the funeral, Rob asked the funeral home to lay out her bones, as if, put them together pretty much, so he can see her one last time. And he was given some time with her in that way. And then he had her cremated and has her ashes. He claims that he slept with her ashes. In the documentary, he opens them up and looks at them for the first time, and he gets very emotional. And he says how he would never share her with anyone, especially Pistol. He would never share her with him. And it's just extremely sad. He's so mean in that way. He's so mean. That is his mom. Pistol, to this day, thinks that Rob had something to do with it. Rob was looked into, and he does have an alibi. He was at home. He had to go to a gas station, time stamped. It was 45 minutes away from the salon at that time. And then he went to work. So he was also time stamped at work as well. So there was just no way for Rob to be at the salon during that time. It doesn't rule out a murder for hire, but they can't prove that. They have nothing to prove that. So it is unsolved. They have no idea what happened to her. They have no idea who did it. And to this day, Pistol never got any of his things back. He never got anything from his mom from that house. And Rob has her ashes and he refuses to share anything with her son. And I just find that to be so sad and evil. Even if Rob had nothing to do with her murder, that's evil. But I want to know what you think of this case. I want to know if you think it was one of the two murderers that they suspected. If you think it was Gary Hilton, if you think it was Jeremy Jones, or if you think it was Rob or someone else. What do you suspect happened to her? And if you know anything else about the case, please leave it in the comments below. If you have any suggestions on other cases, any unsolved cases, anything like that, please leave them in the comments for me, because I love getting ideas and different things. So I had fun doing this sit down video. I'm going to see what it's like to edit on my phone with this, and hopefully it goes well, because I love doing this too. So I like the meal prep ones, but I would love to have a little bit of everything because it makes me happy. So thank you so much for watching and giving me your time. And yeah, make sure you like this video and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you get told every time I upload a video. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. Bye.